Hey, if you're tired of side hustles that really don't pay anything, this video is for you. I'm going to tell you about how to find the side hustles that respect your time and energy as a teacher. I'm Eileen from Teach with ND, and thanks for tuning in. So let's talk about what it means to have something pay well. So if you're neurodivergent, if you have ADHD or autism, or if you're just well, not just, but if you're extremely burned out and your executive functions are not what they used to be, um, when you're looking for side hustles, it's more complex than finding a higher paying hourly rate, because you want to also be considering your energy and ideally finding something that replenishes your energy or even gives you more energy. Um, so if you find that you like tutoring, for example, a 75 hour per hour, 2 hour block, could be better than, 6 hours in a retail store, that pays $20 an hour, which may be much more draining, energetically and sensory related. So, um, but some real earnings examples that I've found to share with you. Tutoring, I know sometimes people might think, oh gosh, tutoring, I'm already teaching. I don't want to be tutoring also. And that's valid. And also, it does pay well. And depending on how you work it, you might end up enjoying it. And, you get to spend more like um, non-fractured, sort of non-distracted, like intentional, more one-on-one time. Even if you end up doing a small group, you can devote more of your energy to each of those students, than you might be able to normally. So, but tutoring could pay anywhere from 30 to $75 an hour, depending on where you are. Um, if you have heard about test prep as a side hustle, that's also a great option. You can get jobs tutoring students before big exams, the SAT, for example, and also college students can use help with their exams, their prep. Um, and then Teachers Pay Teachers, you might have heard of. I do know for a fact people are still making money on there. Um, and, you know, as far as like how much somebody makes, it kind of depends on the niche and how consistent somebody is. But there's a wide range of how much money somebody will make. But from what I've heard, as I've just started developing my own Teachers Pay Teachers store. But I know that there's lots of people who make at least a few $100s a month. Um, and then of course, as you probably have heard, there's people who make a lot of money, over $100,000, but per year. But I think that those people are probably the exception to the rule. And to just, if you're going into Teachers Pay Teachers, to just get some good support, which I can hook you up with. I have great colleagues in the program that I'm in, who specialize in that, and they can give you some great tips to get you started. Um, so yeah. But once you get earning a few $100s a month, even something like $200 or $300 a month goes a long way. I mean, even $50 goes a long way, right? When you're like barely squeaking by, which I totally get how that feels. And so even, a small quote unquote amount of money, can make a big difference to your monthly budget and could help you put money towards therapy or executive function coaching, rather, possibly meds, like really important things, especially if you're neurodivergent or, seeking support for different things around your life. If you're extremely burned out, um, or if you're a woman who's, starting to go through a transitional phase of life where, you might feel like your concentration and focus isn't what it used to be. So anyway, any amount of money is going to help. And uh, so if you, put in the time and the effort and learn about your side hustle and get into a good, consistent pace, and you're finding your niche, finding products that people enjoy, and making good quality products, you're more likely to start seeing some income. Um, but you do have to be realistic for the timeline because it can take, a year or so to start seeing money come back from something like that. Um, but in general, if you're able to get, between 500 and $1,000 a month extra, eventually that makes a huge difference. That's talking about rent or mortgage help there. And, I'm sure you have a lot of ideas of what you would spend money on, especially nowadays. Everything seems so expensive. Um, okay. And then, eventually you might also want to think about making your own courses. And those can do quite well too. Uh, and potentially be even more lucrative if you find, the right audience and all of that. So some skills that you might already have that you might be forgetting that you have, which is common for a lot of us, is, if you are interested in curriculum planning, I mean, most teachers plan at least some part of their curriculum. So that skill set is very useful. And your expertise with technology, even if you consider yourself like not a super techie person, I'm willing to bet that you have more tech skills than you're giving yourself credit for. But those two skills combined, curriculum design and technology, excuse me, can help you put together some online products, some digital products or courses, as I mentioned. Um, and then you might feel like you're better at writing than speaking or interacting with people face to face. You might feel like you have a lot of empathy naturally. And again, like those two skill sets combined, so strong writing and empathy, that could help you in something like coaching or um, creating content, whether that's like through a blog, like I'm doing, or YouTube, which I know might seem counterintuitive if you are, very introverted, but those are some avenues for you to consider. So tell me in the comments below, what's one skill you already use in the classroom that you could turn into income? All right, thanks for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Bye.